garden, and I'm gonna grab some of this. If you watched the garden video I shared, this here is called Jamaican Callaloo, or in the Southern Caribbean we call it spinach or chorai bhaji, but it's really big. I'm gonna grab some of this. We're gonna go inside and try something a little bit different. I've got about two and a half pounds of chicken, and all it was 2 chicken legs with the back attached that I cut up into small pieces. I removed all the skin and all the fat. I am from the Caribbean, so which means water was involved, if you know what I mean. Very simple. A tablespoon and a half of Caribbean green seasoning. If you are new to Caribbean cooking, Caribbean green seasoning, and I have it in my bowl here. If you head over to CaribbeanPot.com, you'll find that recipe for Caribbean green seasoning. It is a blend or puree of all the herbs, along with garlic and seasoning peppers that we like using in our meals. In our preparing our dishes, just about everything we use that in. You saw me go in there with some sea salt, and it's a very simple sort of marinade. I'm going to go in with some fresh ground black pepper. You know, one of the things you will notice about Caribbean cooking for the most part is we don't do the whole onion powder and garlic powder, and yes, sometimes we go overboard with the, and that is some Worcestershire sauce. I just like adding it to my stewing process, so I'm just going to give that a good mix. Sometimes you will find people using that all-purpose seasoning, but be mindful of the sodium content in that. So you notice how nice that's looking already there. That is it. We ain't doing nothing fancy yet. I've got my nice heavy cast iron, well, it's glazed pot on a high heat. You want it to be dry, you want it to be nice and hot, and it's imperative that it is a dry, because we're going in with some olive oil. And right away, because I know my pot is hot, I'm gonna go in with my light brown sugar. I know what you're thinking. If you're new to Caribbean cooking, you're thinking, well, wait a minute, sugar, isn't it gonna be sweet? Absolutely not. It is not about sweet, it is about building a depth of flavor and color, and it comes compliments of that brown sugar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what's gonna happen here is that sugar is gonna melt, and I'm gonna keep moving it around because I know my stove has hot spots. It's gonna go frothy, and then it's gonna go deep amber in color. When it goes deep amber in color, that's when we're gonna add the seasoned chicken to the pot. Now when you're adding it, be very careful, because remember, melted sugar, caramelized sugar, and liquid, because remember, there's liquid in this chicken. It is a recipe for getting burned, so be careful. Use a dry spoon kind of thing. And if it goes black, stop. Shut the stove down. If that sugar goes black on you, you will end up with bitter tasting chicken. We don't want that. If it goes black, turn the stove off, shove the pan to the side, let it cool completely, wash it, and start over. And I'm starting to see that dark color happening there, so I'm just moving around the sugar just to make sure it melts completely, and then goes that caramelized color. That amber color, caramelized color. What's wrong with this boy tonight, boy? Anyhow, we're gonna give that about 30 more seconds, yeah? I don't know what color it's showing on the camera, but I can assure you it is a lovely amber color now. It will go smoky once I hit this in there. I'm just going to turn the heat down to medium, and I'm going to put the lid on there. It's got a lovely color happening in the pot there. Now, to enhance the flavor of everything, we have a couple more steps. I have here 1 tomato that I chopped up, that's straight out of my garden, and half of a large onion. Speaking about my garden, I've got a seasoning pepper, also known as a pimento pepper. I'm just gonna chop that up in here like so. And you're looking at real flavors happening here right now, ladies and gentlemen. Ginger, yeah. A good stew chicken must have ginger. Now remember, the stew chicken part here that you're seeing, and you know, some people call it brown stew. I call it stew chicken. We need ginger. It is just the sort of flavor enhancer for, which I think is the main ingredient, which is the Jamaican Callaloo that we picked in the backyard. And speaking about that Jamaican Callaloo, here's where we're gonna start adding it. You know, and you know, every time I do a recipe with this ingredient, I have to always mention that in the Southern Caribbean, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, we call this chorai bhaji, and it grows wild. In some places in North America, it's called pigweed as well. And it may look like a lot, but it will wilt down. It's been washed, and it's been trimmed, and it's been cut up into ribbons. And even the tender stems have been cut up as well. In the last video I did with the same Jamaican Callaloo, you will see how I prepared it. If you're wanting a specific sort of how-to video on how to do it, drop me a comment down below. But basically all you would do, you would wash it really good, you would take off all the more mature stems, the thicker stems, and then you will just chop up the leaves. To help with that sort of wilting down and all that, I have 1.5 cups of coconut milk. It's kind of clumpy. It came out of a can, along with 1/2 cup of water, so 2 cups of liquid in total. I'm just going to put the lid on there and let that wilt down, because I've got quite a bit more to add in there. It's been about 7 minutes since I added the Jamaican Callaloo to the pot. I stirred it, and notice how it's already reducing down quite a bit of liquid, so I'm going to leave it at a medium-high heat and let it cook like that. But before we continue, garlic. I like a ton of garlic in anything spinach or green sort of related. I like it spicy as well, so I've got 3 and 2 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these ones are called, they're very spicy. They're called teardrop habaneros, new in the garden this year. Just gonna tuck everything down. And the kitchen is just smelling incredible. You know, later on when you eat it and you get a piece of that garlic, I'm telling you, that is bonus. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't like it spicy, you don't have to. If you like it spicy, obviously, you can break those peppers later on. That is what I'm going to do. If you don't like it spicy, you can remove them and avoid having to break them. If you break it, you release the beast. Remember that. So now we're going to put the lid on. And we're going to leave that crack there for everything to vent and everything, all kind of nice things to happen in there. Medium, high. Been going on that vigorous boil for about 25 minutes now. And you can see it's starting to wilt down all the way down. Still quite a bit of liquid. I'm trying to cook that off because I want, you know, and this is where you're going to start personalizing things. While I'm eating this with some Worcestershire roti, and you know, I would recommend eating this with anything you like, you know, like a rice, ground provisions, boiled green bananas, anything like that, roasted breadfruit. I still want that sort of gravy, that sort of sauce to cook all the way down until I get a sort of a dry bottom there, or a dry bottom. Yeah, anyhow, you tailor it to your own liking. There's 3 ways to personalize this. 1, the amount of liquid you leave back. 2, how tender you like the Jamaican Callaloo. And 3, salt. You'll notice at the start I went in with quite a bit of salt when I was seasoning the chicken. So I won't be adding any more salt. Now I'm going to leave the lid completely open now. Remember we talked about them big chunks of garlic earlier there? Boy, I'm telling you now, the peppers, yeah, I'm going to pow, I'm going to box it. Look at that. Pow, things happening. Trying to burn off all that liquid now, and for Chris eating this with some nice Worcestershire roti. Yeah, no man, real thing, you know. Sup soldiers, listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. if you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, then Butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irene? It's been going with the lid off for about 6 minutes. Most if not all of that liquid is gone. There's still a tiny bit there, so I'm going to give it another 3 minutes. I'm going to shut the stove down. Remember, you can tailor it to your own liking, exactly how we spoke about there. Taste it for salt and all that. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me. We've done it with salted pigtail. We've done it with salted cod. And now I give you Jamaican Callaloo with stewed chicken. And you know, some people may want to call it brown stew chicken, but I call it stew chicken. Look at that. I remember we got all that coconut milk in there. And, oh, vibes it up, man.